JD here, Tyrannimus, and as you can see we're ARR round 6 I believe today, and this isn't actually from the qualifying session, this is from a practice lap I did where I did a 17.8, because this track I feel is probably one of my best qualifying tracks on the game. As I said before, probably one of my fastest on raw pace, just especially through qualifying, and I really enjoy this track. So coming into this, I was really confident because I was normally qualifying, I tend to boss it quite a lot, but in practice I was doing constant 17s. I think out of 20 sessions I probably did. I think I've probably gotten the 17s probably 18 times out of those 20, so, and that's a really good time. Anything in the 17 is a pretty good. So moving on to my first attempt now, this is actually in the lobby itself, and I know the flying thing is ridiculously fast around here, especially in qualifying. In the race, throughout a little bit of practice sessions of him, I feel if I can keep within his DRS, then there's always a challenge for the end of the race. So I definitely thought I could keep up with him, so it's really crucial that we qualify really well. So coming through here, taking a really tight line, not taking turn 2 that well, so we tried to go around it flat out, go out wide, and yeah, we've just lost the car completely. Just a little bit hesitant really for turn 2, to be honest, and you may not be able to see it on the screen, it may not really appear that well, but there was quite a big frame rate issue really, especially at the start of qualifying, which kind of put me off a little bit. But going through here, this is going to be my fastest lap, so you know, we're struggling now. We haven't even done a good lap. We've done exactly the carbon copy of what we did the first time again, so just going tight into turn 3, and again we've almost spun it again. We went off the track, but I feel we lost time there. We didn't gain anything from that because we did a 22.1 first sector compared to a 7 being my PB, so we lost 4 tenths in that first sector alone. So this is not going well at the moment, and I don't know what to say. It's just, it might be the case of doing somewhat too much practice for this race, because I was doing a lot of practice sessions for this, especially in qualifying, feeling really confident going into this, and I don't know, I didn't feel nervous or anything, and I'm not really going to blame the frame rate because it wasn't horrendous for me, but I don't know, I just wasn't committed enough through turn 2, and that gives you a really poor line. As you can see, you make another mistake here, so just losing the car through here, so which has just not happened to me in practice. So obviously it means nothing at all until you can actually do it in the session. And coming around here now, this is not going to be a good time. This is going to be an 18.5, and I think that's the slowest I've gone in a short qualifying throughout the whole weeks of practice. I think the slowest I've done was like an 18.1 in practice. And you can see if we did a 17.8, that would have been P3 on the grid behind our championship rival, the Flying Finn. So that was a really bad qualifying, but we qualified in 11th, which luckily means we actually start on fresh tyres. So if there's anything to take out of it is that we start on fresh tyres. So I was thinking to myself, there's nothing you can do now. You just got to focus on the race. Use those fresh tyres to your advantage. You know you've got the pace in the race because, as I said, I felt I could keep up with the Flying Finn in the race as long as I stayed within this DRS. If I lost this DRS, it would have been very difficult, but I know we have the pace to at least get a podium in this race. So if we could just pick off the cars, I was being very cautious at the start here, which you'll probably be able to tell, because I just didn't want to get any damage whatsoever, because if you get any wing damage, it's completely game over. So we've got 33 laps of this race, so we've got plenty of time to overtake some people. Got to take out your mind that you want to go for the win, because realistically that's not going to happen when you're starting P11. I know we did well from Australia, but that was wet conditions. In dry conditions, it's a whole different ball game. It's a lot harder to overtake, it's a lot harder to make up time, so it's going to be very difficult. But we've gone down inside of the surprise merge, so we're making up one place at least into P10, and now behind ESL Stone. And right now, as I said, I was just thinking, just take your time overtaking people. Don't need to throw everything away, because you can lose a championship in one race, you can't win it in one race. No one's going to have perfect races, which we actually saw with Finn last time out. He actually came 4th in that race, so you know, he's not going to win every race this season, neither am I. We're not going to finish in the podium every time this season, because neither of us have. So it's consistency what wins championships, and damage limitation. So we've got to take this as damage limitation now, even though I was expecting to be really fighting for the win round here in wet and dry conditions, particularly in the wet. The pace was looking seriously strong, which was a little bit, not annoyed, but really hoping for some wet conditions, because I think that really boosted my chances quite a bit as ESR Stone lockdown is starting to come together. As we're going to try and go down the inside of ESR Stone now. Let's see if we can do it. And we go for 50-50 move, but being very careful because you just don't want any damage on that front wing. Because as I said, any damage on this game particularly, you're going to lose a lot of time as we go around the outside as Stone makes a slight mistake. So we're going to outbrake him around the outside, leave him room on the inside, try and hold it around the outside, and we've just been pushed off there slightly. So I didn't think that was particularly fair, and we've actually gotten the legal overtake for that as well. So we've been pushed off, and now we have to give the place back as well. But to be honest, I don't think that actually happened on the screen. I haven't seen his perspective of it, but I know in this game when you're side by side of someone, for some reason you get shoved off, but on their screen they haven't done anything to you at all. So, and I think he's trying to say sorry there. So I wasn't really too annoyed about that because, as I said, we've got plenty of laps to go, but we're still in P11 where we started after 4 laps of the race. So, and cars are starting to get away of us, ahead of us now, which luckily you can see there's quite a big group. If you see in the mini-map, quite a big group. I think there's a battle for third, so I was kind of hoping those cars will start battling each other quite a bit. If they could do that, then I think if we can get past these 2 cars pretty quickly, then we have a chance of catching that group and then trying to do something from there. But let's see now, behind ESR Stone, and we're really close, going to turn 5, and we managed to go down the inside. He tries to hold it around the outside, leaving him some room. We just get a better traction, and that's a reasonably comfortable move. So now we've made up 1 position, so we are in the points at least now. And third place isn't too far away, and with the fresher tyres, I feel creates quite a reasonable pace advantage. I felt it definitely made it a lot more comfortable in the first stint, and then we can actually do something. But the pace, since we're stuck behind these cars at the moment, we were doing 21.4s in practice. I was doing a half 50-50 move, not really fully committed move, down the inside of Stu, my teammate, who we don't really have team orders unless it's a really easy overtake. So not plain sailing, we're not just going to switch around, which I personally prefer because he's a good enough driver not to do that. But we get a really good exit here, and he actually lets me go. In the party chat he said just go down the inside, which we do, so that's a nice move into P9. But yeah, as I was saying, we actually lose the car there as well, and then we lose the car again to the oversteer, and we weren't really driving that great the first part of this race. At least it just took us a while to get into the rhythm, as we're going behind Cairo Lockdown. But yeah, in practice we were doing mid 21s fairly comfortably, and obviously in traffic here we're not able to really do the real pace of what we're able to do. So it was pretty disappointing, but it is what it is. There's nothing you can do. As Lockdowns now go to defend the inside, we think we're just going to give him the corner as we're making a little bit of contact. So I wasn't really intending for that to happen, but there seems to be a reasonable amount of lag in this lobby. Ever since the patch, it just seems to not really be that stable. As Lockdown actually loses the car, so that gifts us 7th place at the moment, which I think NLR Evo is actually pitted because he had some wing damage. So we're in P7 at the moment, and moving on, we've actually caught up to Joe pretty quickly. So this is showing the pace we've got. We're actually starting to catch the group for the podium position, and this is more like the pace that we wanted. So let's see what we do. We do a 22, I think that's a 5 there, so I think that's when we get past Lockdown. But we're coming towards the end of the stint now, as you can see by our tyre wear. Break into turn 1. As I said, we're not really going to do any stupid moves in this race. We're just going to take our time, which I don't think there's no slipstream in this race. A lot of people were complaining of that, and I have to say I agree. There was no slipstream apart from your DRS advantage you got. There was absolutely nothing going down straight. So we've got to make moves in corners like this, as we do. It should be a relatively comfortable move, but he's holding it around the outside. Fair play to him. He's getting a little bit of traction, but we're going to keep it in rich mix, going down the inside, now being quite bold, so definitely being a lot more committed, leaving him a little bit of room in the exit, but squeezing him onto the curb so he loses traction. And now that is us into 6th place in this race, and you can see the group ahead of us. I think it's like a group of 3 cars or so ahead of us now, so I think we're going to come in maybe at the end of this lap, perhaps, maybe not, but let's see what happens now. So just coming out through the last sector, and I think we're just going to see who goes into the pits. I think there's going to be a number of people who do that. So coming through this last chicane, very easy to cut. As you can see, 2 people going into the pits, and I think that is Jason carry on to Martin, and I think that is Sonic STS F1 Alonso has gone to the pits as Jason stayed out. So now we're going to the pits. Started to catch him a little bit on the slap as well with the fresher tyres, and I felt in practice you didn't really get too much of an undercut advantage, and considering on fresher tyres as well that they did at the start of the race, there's not really going to be that much of an advantage, I don't think. So coming out here now doing the 2.7 pit stop, which is reasonable. As you can see, Alonso and Martin now come past, and you can see there's not really that much of an advantage. So that's the reason why I stayed out, because I knew they wouldn't get any real undercut, and we would have fresh tyres towards the end of the race as well. So we're moving on to lap 19 now. So 8 laps later, we've actually caught up to the group. So our pace has started to be more like it should be, really, at this stage of the races. We're doing mid-21s roundabouts at the moment, and we're coming up to Tyrrell Martin as we almost lose the car, with Jason and Alonso ahead of us as well. So we're hoping to get past him as quick as possible, as Martin actually makes a little bit of a mistake, so we're just going to go around the outside, and I think he just gifted me that position because I think he was struggling a little bit. So he made that mistake, and he made it, fair play to him, he made it quite easy for us to overtake, as now we're actually caught up to the Williams pairing, who are having a right old battle in front of us, and at this point this is the fight for the podium. So if we could get these 2 cars, then that would be an amazing result, considering we started at P11 after having a horrendous qualifying, probably the worst qualifying I've ever done in a league race. That potentially that's definitely up there in the top 3. Then that would be a really, really good result. So coming through now this left right as we're about to lap a retired car, so he's going to be a ghost car going through here, getting a good exit of this on the DRS as we're driving through. That's car powerful, and going through this, going through the last sector. Now they're going side by side, going through this left right corner sequence, and I was just, you could probably tell by the driving style, just being very cautious here, just don't want any damage, because I feel if I can get past these 2 cars, and I feel we have the paces, we actually do hit into the back of Jason. So that's really, really not what I wanted at this stage. I really just wanted to just do a clean overtake, but we'll be able to see by the DRS here. So open it up, he's got a slipstream as well, and Jason might be running a little bit lower wings, but you can see we're starting to get a little bit slipstream, but nothing like I would expect it to be, really, at all. I would expect to be a good 5 to 10 miles an hour faster down the straight, and we'll be able to see it later on in this race as well as some better examples, but there's just no slipstream at all. So I don't know if there was a glitch, but a lot of people were complaining about that after the race. So going through here now, there's no real opportunities to overtake, so we're not going to do it this occasion, but just trying to get a really good exit off here. And the only thing we can hope for in this race was, my strategy was to try and get as close to them in the middle sector as possible, to try and really put them off, try and put them under some pressure, and hopefully make them make a little bit of a mistake. So going through here, we get a really good exit off here. Jason goes a little bit wide, his car's lagging back and forth a little bit, so we decide we're close enough to go down the inside, so we're going to go down the inside, leaving some room on the exit, going up through the gears, short stint into 4th gear, and we've just about made it ahead of Jason, and that is pretty crucial because he's actually on the same lap tyres as us as well, so we're not going to have any tyre advantage over him. That is just for pure position, if that makes any sense. So now we've got to try and catch Alonso, which is Finn's brother, who we always seem to have a pretty difficult battle whenever we go against each other. We're always quite aggressive against each other, and obviously him and his brother are going to be in the same party, which I don't think he'd really protect his brother that much, but I think he would like it if he was being quite defensive against me, because obviously the Flying Finn doesn't want me to gain any position. So I know it's going to be quite difficult. As you can see, he's already defending where we're 2-3 car lengths behind him, so I know straight away that this is going to be quite a difficult battle to do, but we've only got 6 laps of this race to go now, and we'll be able to see the slipstream advantage on the straight. So getting a good exit off here, we managed to always get quite a good slingshot off this, as we managed to create a little bit of a gap to the cars behind us as well, which is definitely going to just really help us, because there's no there's no pressure from behind. I can focus purely on the cars ahead, and I think Jason's starting to battle with Martin and NLR Evo as well. So going through this left-right, trying to get a good exit here. Actually, we managed to do a reasonable exit. Going through this right, let's see if he goes a little bit out wide, but we're not going to be close enough to overtake here. And hopefully on the main straight we should have a little bit of an example, but you can see we're definitely quite a bit later on the brakes, so getting a good exit of this as well. And in the last sector, it seems that's definitely my favourite sector. He's going out wide again, so let's see, there's going to be no opportunity there. There's not really an overtaking spot at this point, but going through here, trying not to flash chicane, try and get a good exit now, which would go into the back of him ever so slightly. Had to turn out of that because I didn't want to corner cut it, and you can see now, look how close we are coming off this last corner. He starts to defend. Let's look at this slipstream. You'll be able to see, and for DRS and Rich Mix, using quite a low wing. We're using 4.8 wings, I think, in this race. I was expecting a lot more slipstream than that, to be honest, so I don't know. I don't know if that was just purely DRS only, or if that was actually in fact slipstream. Maybe you can decide what you think in the comments, but for me, I was expecting a little bit more than that, as he's starting to defend the inside, because he thinks he knows this is for a podium position, and this is quite crucial now for the championship. We need, at this point I was thinking I need to get this podium to just create as much damage limitation as possible, because coming in fourth, you're just going to lose too many points to what you would do, obviously, if you finish in third. And it's important to keep up those consistent results, because if we came third in this, we'd be finishing on a podium every single race, apart from Bahrain, where I feel around Bahrain we were really unlucky to not get a podium around there, considering the lag incident we had. So, as I say, consistency is always key. No one's going to have a perfect race every race, and that includes people like Noble, people like Finn. No one wins every race, so you got to, when you're on the ground on your knees, you got to really try and do as much damage limitation as possible. As we're trying to go around the outside, but now we're going to try and go for a switchback, leaving some room on the inside. So fair play to him. I'm going to try and go down the inside there, but there's just not enough room as we're going out wide for the dirty air now. And yeah, there's nothing we can do. And I think we'll probably go stay on board for the end of this race as well. So let's see. Very difficult to get a good exit off this corner because of just dirty air, which I really do like in this game, but it's very hard to follow someone. And let's look at the slipstream now. So as he's lagging a little bit, so I would expect more slipstream than that, and I'm not sure what wings he was running, but I'd be very surprised if he was running a lower wing than me. But we seem to get a good exit of this corner. Maybe potentially, I was potentially thinking about going down the inside there, but I think that would have been a little bit too bold, as he's gone out wide. But we seem to get really good traction with a 70 diff around here. He covers the inside, which is probably a good move, because I was thinking about doing that, as he gets quite a poor exit here. So I was thinking maybe go down the inside with his left, but I think that would have been you can't really do two cars for there. So I was just thinking better of it and try and pressure him for this last sector, because if we can do that, then we'd have a really good chance here. But we managed to get a decent-ish exit up here, but we're going to be a little bit too far back, doing a 50-50. I was really trying to make him just go straight on and lock up to give us, the best possible opportunity to really just try and hassle him around this last sector. Coming up through here now, this is probably going to be our best chance down this main straight, so trying to get as close to him as absolutely possible. So try and clip this curb, try and get a good exit up there, which we don't do. We don't really get a perfect exit with the slipstream. No pressure from behind, so we can now purely just focus on this last race. And I was checking that to see if he had any penalties. I'm not sure what you really have to check. I don't really want to press pause at this stage, but I had no idea if he has a penalty or not. So we've got a race assuming that he has not got a penalty, because round here I know it's very easy to get a penalty from looking at in practice and in previous league races. It's very easy to get a penalty around here. Most people do. And I know that Alonso is on a new rig, so he's on a new setup, which is going to be a little bit out of his comfort zone, so he might be making a few little mistakes, inconsistencies, running out wide, which might have given him a penalty. So that was what I was trying to check there, because there would be no point trying to go down the inside of him if he had a penalty at this stage. But at this point, I had no idea if he has a penalty or not. So let's see. Thinking about doing a dive bomb here, we are definitely close enough thinking about it. trying to go wide, but I wasn't 100% committed because I think that would have been a little bit too much. I would have expected him to turn in on me at that point on the last lap, so I think it would have... I'd rather play it safe than just to completely destroy my race, because we've done quite good damage limitation regardless of this. Very disappointed because at qualifying, if we started third and got ahead of Finn in the first corner, getting a good start, then we could have potentially maybe messed up his race, already had a chance to actually batter them at least, which was really annoying. But as you can see, we have actually come P3 in this race because Alonso did pick up a penalty with a couple of laps to go. So P11 to P3, I think it's really good damage limitation. As I said, I was more annoyed after the race because I should have qualified P3 with a half decent lap. I think I had enough of that in the tank to qualify P3. And then we could have got off Finn on the turn 1 because he started in P2, and we could have maybe done something from there, because I really do feel we could have actually kept up with the top 2 anyway. But it is what it is. You just got to take that. But P3 from P11 is a good result, as you'll see the championship standings here now. So I hope you've enjoyed this race. Hopefully you enjoyed the raw footage and most of it. Thank you for support, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.